Hi. I want to talk about some lore stuff today, Elden Ring lore stuff, pretty much just about Miquella, a little bit about Mohg, um, just some things that I haven't really heard too many people talking about yet. Um, so yeah, I guess I never know how to start these videos, so I guess I'll just talk about like what people generally seem to accept as what is going on, and then I'll go into some item descriptions, and then I'll give my take on what's going on. And I'm not saying I know for certain that this is what's actually going on. I'm just saying that this is. I think it's a bit, it's not really as clear cut as people think it is. Like everyone kind of seems to be thinking this is pretty black and white, but I'm still kind of on the fence about whether or not it's as black and white as people make out. But anyway, so let's just talk about it. Miquella, he's in the Halig tree. He's in an egg, and the egg gets taken out by Mohg and put on the pelvis in the what is it, the bed chamber, the bloody bed chamber, whatever. And yeah, like I feel like the way that a lot of people are looking at this as like, oh, poor Miquella was snatched away before he could complete his plan with the Halig tree. Darn you, Mohg, you've ruined the plan. This could have saved the lands between, and it's all Mohg's fault. And Miquella is this kind of victim, right? Who's just kind of being used as a tool. And I don't know, I don't think that when you look at a couple of other item descriptions, that seems really, really weird. That to just kind of accept, yeah, Miquella is this kind of helpless victim in this circumstance. And let's go, I've got some notes on my phone here. Let's go into them. I'll read out some things. Let's see. Armor worn by knights sworn to the Halig tree. This is just like the generic, like human warrior guys that you'll find in, there's like a different one for each country. These are just the ones that you find in the Halig tree. It says, left breast emblazoned with the crest of the Halig tree, though watered with Miquella's own blood, since it was a sapling, the Halig tree ultimately failed to grow into an Erd tree. Cool. What else? The needle. The needle is kind of not really important, but it just kind of talks about like crafted to ward away the meddling of outer gods, right? So it's worth bringing it up. That's that seems to be Miquella's whole thing, right? Doesn't want the outer gods interfering with the lives of people, or just the occupants of the lands between. Let's not go into like gods versus humans versus whatever. Like he just doesn't want people in general influenced, right? What else? We have the remembrance of Mohg. What does that say? Wishing to raise Miquella to full godhood, Mohg wished to become his consort, taking the role of monarch. But no matter how much of his bloody bedchamber he tried to share, he received no response from the young Empyrean. Okay, like these are all things, it's going to probably be like, well, yeah, this is all like why. I'm just trying to lay the groundwork. I'm just providing some context, So let's just get through these. Tree branch blessed with the incantation of unalloyed gold. This is the bewitching branch. The Empyrean Miquella is loved by many people. Indeed, he has learned very well how to compel such affection. Such a fucking interesting item description. Like, yeah, I think I don't know, it seems a bit too ignored. I feel like this is really important here. Anyway, let's keep going. Silver sword carried by clerics of St. Trina. Oh yeah, like just if you don't already know, which you're probably not watching, if you would know if you're watching this video, but just in case you don't, Miquella is Saint Trina, and there's a whole bunch of cut content that kind of further confirms that. But it's pretty much confirmed in the game anyway. It was just more obvious previously. Anyway, carried by Saint Trina, inflict sleep on foes, blah blah blah. Centrina is an enigmatic figure. Some say she is a comely young girl, others are sure he is a boy. The only certainty is that their appearance was as sudden as their disappearance. Okay, cool. And then what's this? Carving of Centrina, but in adult form, somewhat unnervingly. That's such an weird item description, such an interesting one. What's this? Centrina's a lily. It says, symbol of faith in Centrina, dulls the senses, preventing agitation. And the arrows of Centrina, priests of Centrina use these arrows to spread their teachings. The sweet oblivion of sleep can become quite the habit. Yeah, and there's probably some other item descriptions that I don't have on me at the moment. But just stuff kind of relating to like Miquella's, goal to cure his sister of the rot. That's pretty much it, really. But we all know that seems to be Miquella's thing, right? Like Miquella wants to grow the Halig tree and have that kind of replace the Erd tree, and he wants to cure his sister. Those are pretty much the two things. The Halig tree thing, you could that's kind of, I feel like you could wrap that in with he wants to kind of free himself and his people from the outer gods' influence, right? So it's all part of the same thing. But then he has this kind of personal thing with his sister. He wants to cure his sister at the same time, right? Cool. So that's Miquella. That's Miquella. Miquella's this. That's what he's trying to do. Blah blah blah. I just thought it was, okay, so now let's go into some speculation. So, warnings. I think, I always thought it was really interesting that we see, the current opinion seems to be, oh, poor Miquella, the victim Miquella has been taken by Mohg, and everything got fucked up for him, right? But I don't know if it was really, I don't know if we can really say for sure that it was Mohg who was fucking things up. Maybe, but let's look at it, right? What was that thing about the tree being watered with blood? Which one was that again? The armor of, so it says, though watered with Miquella's own blood since it was a sapling, the Halig tree ultimately failed to grow into an Erd tree. So, we could say we could say, oh, well, that's because of Mohg taking Miquella away. But I think you could also look at it as, it just didn't work. The plan just kind of, they thought this is something we can try, and it wasn't working. It wasn't looking good. They could kind of tell that this wasn't really going to work out despite how much they wanted it to. So let's then look at specifically when we find Miquella and what's happened with him, right? He's been taken out of the tree. What happened there? Okay. So think about the time, right? Miquella is in the tree. There's a war going on. The shattering is taking place. Melania has been sent into Caelid to fight Radahn. And Miquella is kind of just helpless at the tree, just kind of hoping that she wins. The Halig tree is going to be safe and protected. But he's stuck, right? He's in a cocoon. There's not a whole lot that he can really do until he kind of, emerges from his cocoon. So he's completely helpless. He's nothing to do. and his sister, who has like magic super leprosy, is the one who's defending him, and he's trying to save her too. Keep in mind, so he's like, trying. I don't know. I'm just trying to like think. If you're in that position, you'd be thinking, "Oh my God, time's running out. My sister is out there. She's already about to die, regardless of the fact that she's now in a fucking war against Giga Chad Radan." You know what I mean? Like things aren't like things are kind of looking a little bit grave. Things are kind of running out of time. Things kind of we need to get the ball rolling now. So one thing that I had kind of thought was, what if instead of Mohg kind of seeing, oh, okay, like Melania is gone, now is my chance to steal Miquella from the tree. What if it was more like Melania hasn't returned yet. This isn't looking good. The Halig tree is incomplete, and now the one thing that I had to protect this Halig tree from being destroyed before completion, it's a good chance she's not coming back. What the fuck do I do? Like, I'm not flushing this all down the drain, right? So he's thinking, what can we do? Well, Miquella, we know, can bewitch people. Like, he can essentially just make people fall in love with him and want to carry out his bidding, right? Which is a pretty insanely powerful thing for a demigod to be able to do. Like, we don't hear about anyone else being able to do this. You could say maybe Marika can do this because she's Miquella's mother, but really, we only know for certain that Miquella is the only one that can do this. And we also know that Miquella watered the Halig tree with his own blood, which I think is kind of interesting. We also know that from the occupants of the Halig tree, we have things like misbegotten and stuff like that, that like Miquella, if Miquella had kind of offered the Halig tree as a refuge to the misbegotten, it kind of makes that clear that he wouldn't have really cared about this idea of like primordial life or chaotic life being considered worthy of scorn and sinful. He would have been, it's not a big deal. Like, we're trying to protect everyone. A lot of people try and make the argument that he's trying to revert the world to the age before the Erd tree. So it would make sense that he's kind of extending this to the misbegotten, considering they used to be divine in the past, right? But yeah, so he's watered the Halig tree with blood. He doesn't seem to care too much about this, chaotic life and stuff. So what if, right? What if in this act of desperation, in his dreams, in his cocoon, he calls out to Mohg, who is this, has contact with this, the Mother of Blood, and is basically kind of like hoping, let's kind of like speed this process up. Let's get a little bit more juice in the tree going. Maybe some like chaotic blood in there too, like let's really spice things up and make this the like the great tree again. Like, we want to make another crucible or something like that. I don't know, it just seems weird. Like, you have this character, he's described as the most fearsome Empyrean by Melania, who is, like one of the hardest, most powerful people in the game. Right, and she's describing him as the most powerful, the most fearsome Empyrean. It's weird that Mohg, just this omen, and I mean, yeah, he does have like an outer god, I guess, working through him, but like we don't know to what extent that was happening yet at that time. But it just seems weird that you would say like, oh, the most powerful Empyrean is now has just been scooped up and carried away all his plans fucked up because he was just having a nap. Like it seems weird that something that's like, there's like a god of slumber and dreaming would be so vulnerable. Like you would maybe we know he can communicate to people while they're in their dreams. So it's like, well, does he need to be dreaming for him to do that? How much influence can he still exert while he is dreaming? I don't know. It just, just makes you wonder how much of this is actually like maybe there's a chance that Miquella wants this. Also, during the cutscene when you walk in on the bed chamber of the Dynasty of Blood, like Miquella's arm is like up out of the egg, right? It's like hanging down, and then it like drops, and like blood starts pouring off his arm, and it summons Mohg. And I think a lot of people look at that and they just kind of straight up assume like, oh no, Miquella's died, this is all fucked up, and it wasn't a good thing, you know what I mean? But it seems weird that like this almighty Empyrean would like just literally collapse and start hemorrhaging blood because we've walked into the fucking room. Like that doesn't make sense, right? Like to me it almost seems more like it's an intentional thing. We know that Miquella has bloodlet into the tree to feed the tree, right? So it's like it's not the first instance we've heard of Miquella. It wouldn't be the first time. If this was intentional, it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen Miquella intentionally letting his blood. So it almost kind of to me looks like he's like letting the blood down to summon Mohg. He's like, I need help. I need to be defended. I'm still, I'm in my cocoon. So he goes bleh, and creates this pool of blood and summons Mohg to defend him. That's pretty much the theory. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It just seems weird. It doesn't seem, I feel like it's not as clear cut as people make it out to be. Yeah. The other thing though about like it being, like did Miquella as Centrina go and communicate with Mohg? We know that Mohg knows that this is Miquella. Mohg doesn't think this is Centrina. Mohg is aware. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. On another thing, on the torch, on Centrina's torch, it says like depicts Centrina unnervingly in adult form, which I was like, it's so odd, right? Like, why do they mention that? That it's disturbing to see Centrina in adult form, but it is disturbing when you see Miquella in the flesh, and you're like, oh, that's not like how he didn't look like that in the opening cinematic, and the the JPEG of Mohg holding Miquella like a little baby, and it's just this frail little body. Like Miquella looks like he would almost be bigger than Mohg at this point, from the size of the arm. So it is kind. I don't know if it's like. Well, yeah, like it is actually quite unnerving when you see grown Miquella. And we don't know how much of like the actual inside of the egg is supposed to be visible, so I don't want to like break down the actual model inside, because we don't, that wasn't really intended to be seen, I guess, but you could. I mean, some people pointed out that it looks a lot like Mohg does when he's like Morgott when he dies and all of the horns and shit have like just disappeared. It looks very similar. It's like this grey, like weathered skin with like pock marks, like holes in it almost. It looks similar, so I don't know. You could look, maybe there's something there, but I don't know. I just thought it just seems weird to me that like Miquella is still just dreaming ultimately in the cocoon. Like he's still doing what he wanted to do. So maybe there was this point where he decided, you know what? No, we're abandoning the Halig tree. I'm going to go with Mohg. And I don't know. He just wants to like drink a whole lot of cursed blood, and become an omen, or I don't know, just kind of charge himself up with chaotic blood. Um, yeah, but essentially just the idea that it isn't like some sort of fucked up mistake and Mohg is ruining the plans. So Mohg might actually simply be like a pawn in Miquella's plan. Um, so anything else that I really wanted to talk about? Yeah, I guess the only other thing is like, we know that like it says in Mohg's remembrance that Miquella never communicates with Mohg. He never responds to Mohg. So that is kind of weird. Like it does make you think like, oh well, this he doesn't want what's going on, or he's just dead. But I don't think Miquella is dead. I'm pretty sure he's alive in the cocoon. But yeah, it was more just I don't know. Their appearance was as sudden as their disappearance. I wonder if that could mean like disappearing from the tree, getting taken into the bedchamber. It could be that. Um, yeah. Oh, and another thing that, like, just briefly, this is not really relevant, but this was just kind of about the sleep in Centrina, is that they mentioned that it can become a habit for people. People can kind of like almost become addicted to dreaming, which I thought was definitely interesting, and that's something that like you see in a lot of science fiction, right? Like people becoming addicted to dreaming. Um, and we also know of someone who like I think they say there was like a scholar who encountered Centrina in a dream and then became obsessed with finding her again. So it could be that same sort of thing, but I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. Not many people talk about the sleep and dream aspects of it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Um, if anyone has anything to add, please say so in the comments. That would be cool. I'd love that. Um, and yeah, I think that's everything. Um, so yeah, bye.